beautiful people. How are you doing? Oh my goodness, today is a beautiful Friday again, and I'm so happy to be here, and I hope you are too. Please say hi in the comment section and let me know where you are joining me from. Today, we are going to talk about leadership excellence and how you can navigate success through self awareness and communication. We are probably going to drop a little bit more nugget than just that, but I am super happy that you've decided to join us and to talk about this topic a little bit in depth. I have the perfect guest for you today. Her name is Monique Russell. She has done so many things. Like, okay, first of all, let me bring Monique here and then we can talk a little bit more. But again, don't feel shy. Say hi in the comment section and we can take it from there. If you have any question as well, feel free to ask the question in the comment section. Oh, Monique, I am so happy that you're here. How are you doing?
Hey, hi, Flora. I am so happy to be here too. Happy holidays.
Oh, happy holidays. Oh my goodness. I can't believe that we are almost done with 2023 going on 2024. Time flies so fast.
Tell me about it. It was just yesterday we started.
One thing I want to share about Monique. Monique is, she's just an incredible person. Like,
Mm.
look at her smile. The first time I met her, she's like, tell me what you do. And I said, and I share with her what I did. Well, I still do that. I still do that. And she said it back to me in the way that was so elevated, so clear. And I was like, wait a minute, what do you do? This that you just described, it's so powerful. And she said, I am an expert in communication. I said, whoa, this woman knows her stuff. Like the same thing I said, but it sounded so elevated, so well. So please,
Mm.
Monique, can you please introduce yourself to the audience and let us know why you're passionate about communication? Where does this come from?
Mm. So, Flora, I am just excited to be here on the show. I can't believe, like you said, it's already, I mean, we met at the top of the year in Puerto Rico, personal growth and development. And what I do is I help people to communicate and have productive relationships, to communicate effectively. And why I am passionate about this is because I just really got tired. I got tired of seeing people miss opportunities to connect with those that they work with, their leaders, their partners, those they love, because of two main gaps. Primarily, one was because they didn't have the self awareness to know how they were showing up or why they did what they did and how that impacted others. And then the second gap was because they didn't have the tools, the communication tools or skills. And this is very personal for me. So I grew up in the beautiful islands of the Bahamas. My mom's from the Bahamas. My dad is from Nigeria. I am married to a man from Togo. We've been together for over 20 years. And I live here in the United States since I was 17 years old. But when I grew up in the Bahamas, I saw so many people in my family, especially women, who chose to settle. They
Mhm.
settled for different reasons. They settled because they didn't have the tools to shape their future in different ways. And so this was my driving force or my impetus. Is like I really want to see people have more connected relationships. Because I know through my own experiences how it feels to not have a connected relationship, to not feel connected, to not feel like you're having progress when you
Mhm.
truly want to belong. So this is the driving force. And for me, I want to see everyone experience it. I know what it feels like on both sides. And it gives me great joy and pride to see someone honor themselves with the tools of communication and to really have a better life for themselves.
I love it. Love it. It's quite interesting how you are describing your journey and your identity as well. Love the part where you said, first of all, it's all about awareness, right? We always have different baggages based on the culture, based on our upbringing, based sometimes even, I hate to say that, even color of the skin, or sometimes a disability. So sometimes when from what I have noticed, when we come beautifully in this world, right, we are facing a new environment where the environment is kind of setting the tone. But what you're telling me is that based on awareness, we can create a destiny, we can have an impact that we choose. Can you expand a little bit about the power of awareness? I was so curious about this.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. There's so many aspects, and it's like, to your point, where how we were raised influences how we perceive things. It influences how we connect, the respect that we show to each other, the level of influence that someone is having who is in a hierarchy position. In certain countries, for example, that hierarchy, the leader role is extremely important. And so no one should go against the person who's the leader. In other countries and other companies, maybe that's not as rigid, it's not as fluid, it's not as tight. So understanding the different nuances between cultures, between people, and having that awareness will help you to be able to lead your team and connect with people in your team in a better way. I remember working on a project earlier this year, and just really, it was a project that we had probably about 8 different countries represented. And it was just a really beautiful time. And I had a great time because the topic was around communicating. In diverse cultures. And when we look at certain terminology or certain words or certain way of responding, for example, sometimes in the Caribbean, you might be using WhatsApp with a leader versus using email or phone communication. Sometimes the response, you might have someone, receive your message and the response time might be slow or little to non-existent, not realizing that that's also being influenced from a cultural standpoint as well. So just being aware of cultural nuances, of differences in different parts of the world and how that influences how you interact with each other, um, whether you are someone that is open to receiving different types of communication and going beyond a surface level in your communication, all of that is influenced by, your level of awareness.
Mm.
So yeah, when you learn more, you have a better chance of connecting and having a productive relationship with people
Oh,
around you.
wow. When you were talking about the different type of communication, it's not just the communication internally, like based on identity. And please, audience, if you're coming and you are joining us live, please say hi in the comment section and just put live so we know that you're here with us. If you're watching this as a replay, just say hi and say replay. That would be fantastic. We love when people are engaging, and this is the perfect place to communicate with us. But I love what you said, Monique. Communication is not just the internal thought or the voice or the ideas that you project, but it's all. It's this in addition to the tools that you're also using for communicating your thought. And I know some people like, for example, communication via email because it's easy for them to go back to, while others prefer a phone call because they feel like it's more direct. They can understand based on the tone and all of that. And some people like it, like even the videos, right? All of that has a different tone, but I didn't know that was so different. That's interesting.
Definitely. I mean, the communication in itself is vast, right? You hear the word communication, you ask 10 people, you're going to get 10 different responses. And that is why effective communication is all about clarity. You can have one word used among 3 different people, and each person can have a different idea or perception about what that word is. For example, earlier this year, I was working on a different project and the word budget came up. Well, in one country, the word budget was used to determine something that is a projection for the future, whereas in a different country, the word budget was used as something that's already approved, like this is our limit, we can't go, over it, this is what has been already ratified, etc. So just having that clarity, communication that is effective is about clarity, it is about transparency, and it definitely is about internal awareness. So you have to know why you're doing what you're doing, why you're perceiving the interaction or the communication the way it is, whether it's body language, whether it's a tone. You have to know so many aspects of communication. So when someone is talking about that, the first thing to do is to find out, what do you mean when you say communication, so that we could be on the same page.
Oh, I love it, love it. I see Rich just share something about the fact that he is also teaching communication at the school, and it's been interesting because he's been using a technique, a process called Joari window, and at the beginning of the class to help. Oh, this is amazing. Thank you for sharing, Rich. And if you have another thought, please feel free, as always, to say hi and share your thought. We love reading your message. I see Kirsten is here. Hi, Kirsten.
Hi,
How are you doing?
Kristen.
She's from Boston. Hi, my friend. But you know what? It was quite interesting what you said as well, because I work in the field of accessibility and disability, and being able to communicate or receive communication is so important, especially when we are talking and making reference to digital product, like on website. People are communicating a lot about their product or their services, right?
Mhm.
On application, the same thing happen, or on document. A lot of people are using PDF document and all of that. Now, here's the thing, as I am putting myself in the shoes of people with disability, meaning, for example, a person who is blind, who might not be able to see the visual cue of communication, right?
Mhm.
Or a person who is deaf, who might not be able to hear also the instruction being maybe sounded. There are always those variants. How do we make sure that we have a good communication based on awareness, right? Because the key word here is really awareness, understanding your environment, understanding who you're communicating to. But I want to pick your brain on that. With all those variants, have you find an easy way to kind of level the field for different people with different needs when it comes to communication?
Okay, so I'm gonna bust this myth. And hello from the Bahamas, Marlene. So there's a perception that communication should be easy, and it's the biggest misconception there is, because when we come with so many different upbringing and ideas and beliefs, why would we expect that everyone would start on the same page, or that we could create something that would paint a big, broad brush and, like, this is the template, this is what's going to be working for everyone? We see that this doesn't even work in our school systems, right? Like, we have baselines, but there's so many different interests, so many different things that people want to explore. So the first thing is to change your perspective and your expectation, that first of all, it should be easy, number one, and number two, that we can find something that would be able to cut across, everyone, like be suitable for everyone. The way that you address this is going to take some time. You're going to have to get into that experience. You're going to have to ask questions. You're going to have to be curious. You have to have an open mind, knowing that you're going to go into this making mistakes. So you communicate that you're going to make mistakes, so that you don't feel like you have something to prove. A lot of people feel like, acknowledging that they're not communicating effectively means that they're a bad person. It's not. People want to be like, you know what, I'm a great communicator, I'm a great listener. No, you're not.
Especially leaders.
You're
Leaders are
not.
sometimes put on the spot, and they feel like if I'm saying that I'm failing or this is not working, is on my shoulder. But what you're saying is that no, every new experience has those moments, and that's normal. It's part of the process.
It is. It is part of the process. And just get it out of your head, relax yourself, stop trying to put so much pressure on yourself to be this perfect, if perfect communicator, knowing that there are going to be mistakes. You are going to run into blocks, and that is the communication process. But keeping an open mind, being curious, going deeper, not just staying at the surface, so
Mm.
that you can truly, truly help that person on the other end. You talk, Flora, about getting into the experience of someone who's deaf or someone who's blind. You don't have that personal experience. And yes, you can imagine what that might feel like. You can do some research online to what that might feel like, but you might have better success asking someone who is experiencing, what you're trying to replicate or solve for. So that's my suggestion. Don't think that it's going to be easy. Don't think you have to be perfect. Don't, try to present yourself as something that you're not. I've been in the field of communications for a very long time, and I'm doing it 90% of my days. And I still run into mistakes. I run into issues. I run into challenges. So my suggestion is, don't think that there's a one size fits all, because they're not. Know that you're going to go into communication with anyone, including yourself, especially yourself, making some mistakes and having some blind spots.
Ooh, I love it. I see Dr. Khaled said hi from Denver. Hi, Dr. Khaled. So happy you're here.
Hi.
Again, if you have any question, this is the moment. Drop your question in the comment. And Monique, who is, oh gosh, she has so much knowledge, will try to shed some light for us whenever possible. Okay, so if you are using any type of communication within your organization that you might feel like may need a little bit of, uh, maybe a little bit of level up, it's time to just ask the question, and Monique is going to try to answer those questions. But Monique, I love what you just said about the fact that, and that is so true. Most people feel like communication is easy. That's really how we approach it. It's easy. And then we start noticing a few things that doesn't feel right? And then
Mhm.
we are trying to hide those things or push them aside. Like you just mentioned, we feel like we have to be perfect, so it has to be perfect or else it's a failure. But it's actually part of the process, especially if you're starting something new. I remember when I started with me being a speaker and started sharing some of the content, I prepare the document, I prepare my content. But when I started speaking live in the audience, my words were quite different. And I was like, what is happening? I even missed or forgot a few words. And I said, I don't understand. It's not supposed to be a one on one. Like, I know about it. I should be able to communicate that way. But to your point, also, different ways of communicating can create different emotion on different people. So, same message, but it will resonate differently based on different people experience. Why is this kind of communication, I won't call it a breakdown, but that weird moment where you know what you know, but when you say it's a bit different. I don't know if
Okay.
that makes sense.
Okay, so I hear what you're saying about the presentation. So I'm also a professional speaker, and I also help other speakers like refine their message, tell their story, and connect with their audience. Engagement is key. And what you're sharing is okay. You prepare something, and maybe you didn't include it the way you wanted. I think sometimes we're very, very hard on ourselves, right? And one of the things that I have noticed, especially when we're working with leaders or individuals who are trying to make sure that they are connecting with their audience, is they get on that stage, whether it's a virtual stage or a physical stage or in a small group or even one on one. And what happens is the perception of, what are they thinking about me?
Ooh,
Am I actually creating value? Is what I'm saying make sense?
yes.
You get too much inside your own head. And when you get inside your own head, you take your eyes and your focus off your audience. And it's not about you, it's about them. So sometimes when we have prepared, actually I have an individual that I'm working with who has a similar challenge. It's, you prepare, you write down what you want to say, you go over what you want to say, and you get into that space, and then it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even say anything I wanted to say. And so this is a difference I'm so glad you asked this question because this is a difference between the technique of creating speeches and creating presentations, so very technical, hard skills, and also the internal skill, the self awareness of
Mm,
how you're going to show up in the room and what are you thinking. You're thinking that maybe everybody in this room is smarter than you, or maybe they know something more than you do, or maybe you don't have an answer to a question that they're going to ask. So a lot of these things are focused on the internal awareness of how you show up when you feel that you are being judged, when you feel that you might be making a mistake and someone might laugh at you, or they may not think that you know what you're talking about. And that process requires us to go deeper, working not just on the hard or the technical skill, but working on that self awareness, that emotional intelligence, knowing why you step into that room feeling that way, why you walked out feeling that way. Maybe you did great. Maybe you did great. You felt great, but then later on you pick it apart. So it's a process,
ooh, I love it.
but you can definitely improve that as time goes on and implementing the skills.
I love it. It's like just saying, get out of your way, get
Mhm.
just out of your way. And I love how you tie that skill and that success to awareness, which is quite incredible. One question that I have is about the fact that you said you should go to the core to be more impactful, to be more successful. Can you explain a little bit about that? And I see William also say hi. I think William is
Hi,
from Oregon.
William.
Hi, William. So happy you're here.
Mhm.
And please, audience, let me know what is the best communication tool that you have been using so far. Is it directly speaking to people? Is it text? Is it email? Which one do you like the most? I know for a period of time in my life, I didn't want to talk directly to people on the phone. I just have to admit, I was just a little bit shy or a little bit scared or whatever you name it. I was just doing the chatting, like on the text. But I've noticed that that is usually a result of fear, not so much. So I started taking the phone and talking directly to people. But let's go back to the question: what does that mean to use or harness also your core or going to the core? What does that mean?
So there are levels to everything. And when I think about going to the core, it's about stripping away, using the time to have self reflection. I think a lot of times we are professionals, we're busy, leaders are busy, and not really taking the time to sit down and reflect or
Mm,
journal. Earlier this week, I was working with a few of my clients, and one of them said, I have grown so much because I have been able to verbalize what I've been afraid to say, right? To share what I've been afraid to say. This is actually where accountability comes in, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But when I think about going to the core, it's about being able to have that self-expression, being able to understand how many hours of sleep you're getting, the quality of sleep you're getting, how you respond when you're feeling threatened, how you respond when you feel insecure or intimidated, how you respond when you have earned something that you've been working on for a long time. So it's about really stripping things away. You become an investigator. You become a private investigator of yourself. And you have to go and figure out and learn all the things you can, possibly, about who you are, and that includes your health. That includes, just different aspects of how you learn. So, for example, I know for myself, I love working one on one with my coaches, but I know when I get into communities, group learning communities, my outcome accelerates beyond belief. So, I know that I can accelerate my learning journey for any topic that I want to learn in a group setting. I'm going to get value one on one. Sure, but in a group setting, yes. This year, I think I traveled out of the country at least 7 times, sometimes for a minimum of a week, and across different time zones, and definitely nationally as well. But one trip that I made, I came back and it was like the fatigue just wrapped me like a
Mm,
jacket, right? It wrapped me. It was just, it was covering me.
yes.
And I know that how that impacts me. So when I'm fatigued, even if I have the best intentions,
Yeah.
it was like even the things that I was looking forward to in my schedule, they became an annoyance, they became a nuisance.
Mm,
And I realized that my conversations started to include a complaining tone. I was just like, oh, what do they want? What do they want? What do they want? But it was because I was tired,
yes.
right? So,
Yes.
how do you respond when you're tired? Just really paying attention to some of that. It's not about willpower. Going to the core means that you truly understand your response to conflict. You understand more about yourself than anyone else. So you take yourself on as a project, and then noticing the piece about accountability. I feel that the accountability piece is essential, and not just to yourself. I think it's a disservice we give or say that you set your goal, you just need the willpower and the motivation and the drive to get it done. In the real world, in reality, we have things that are built in accountability for us all the time. When we're traveling, we get reminders. When we're going to our doctors and dentist appointments, we get reminders.
Yeah.
So accountability helps with us as we're going to the core, so that we can verbalize the things that we're afraid of. We can reduce the fear, and we can improve the quality of the connection and the communication that we have with the people that are around us.
Yeah, I love it. I think that even going to the core means that you have so much understanding of who you are after the discovery of yourself, right?
Yes.
That whenever someone is communicating with a different style, you are still able to balance the different things because you know who you are. And also, when you are facing with, as you said, conflict before, you know yourself so well that you know how you can handle it to the best of your abilities instead of like just being reactive to the situation. You are responding to the situation.
Exactly.
I think I like that. That gives you so much power. Can you imagine that
It
someone
does.
says something you do not agree, but you know how to filter that properly? I see Marlene said something about the fact that you must be understanding a little bit more of the Caribbean culture. And I think she's asking, how do we shift the culture? I haven't read the whole thing, but Marlene, we will get back to that she will respond to you on the message. Is that okay, Monique? We can
Yes.
respond to her on the message so we take more time to see exactly what she's saying. Thank you, Marlene. And one question that I want to ask, because we are almost done with the session, it goes by so fast, is understanding how communication can be powerful for advocacy as well, especially for leaders, and not just leaders. Everyone needs to be a better communicator, right? Everyone should be able to do that. But you mentioned that yes, communication should create a little bit more, value, and whenever you do some advocacy and so much more.
Yes, and I'm a big advocate. And so advocacy requires clarity. If you don't have clarity, you don't know what you're advocating for. You don't know how to champion the message. You don't know how to do it in a way that is respectful of the people that you're advocating for if you're not a part of that community or you're not a part of that group. So, advocacy definitely starts with being very clear. And yeah, that's the core of it all. It starts with clear communication, clear and effective communication, and keeping your audience in mind.
Oh, that's true. Because sometimes we are moving forward, but with our own perspective instead of the other's perspective. But I love how you say also you need to be like, again, get out of your way. It's not about you, it's about them. And you should be able to communicate clearly for them to understand. And one thing that I love about communication is also that you can always ask the question, do you understand what I said? Can you repeat what I said? So you can hear back the understanding that they have about the message that you just shared. And that gives also another opportunity to, to refine if actually there were a misunderstanding there.
Yes, yes, definitely. It's all about finding the common path to understanding and knowing and going in that conversation or connection or interaction, knowing that there's a high chance, the probability of you getting it wrong is very high. And so your job is to reduce the amount of misunderstanding in the connection or the communication that you're having with others.
Oh, wow. I mean, from what I'm hearing, communication is just a beautiful journey. It's an internal journey and it's also an external journey. I love it. All right. I think that we are done for this session, Monique. I am so grateful that you came here and share incredible value. One thing, and please, audience, can you just share what was your takeaway? For me personally, what you said around self awareness, it's key in the way that you need to know you. And in order to know you, you have to go through that journey of self discovery that will put the power in your hand to communicate well with everyone and to understand where people are coming from. The second thing that you said that was so beautiful is, if you have any doubt or you are not the person you want to elevate, speak to the person you want to elevate. In the case of, like, when we were discussing about disability, sometimes we assume from our point of view, but actually we need to talk directly to the people who have a disability and hear their voice so that we can actually capture that message and put it in, for example, the product that we are creating, especially for tech people. I see Dr. Khaled said something about very informative session for the record. Oh, thank you so much,
Thank
Dr. Khaled.
you.
I see Todd said,
Hey, Todd.
great. Great to see you, Monique. Cheers from San Francisco. Amazing. Again, if you heard something that was interesting, please click the like button, the love button, or any reaction button. I will also say follow Monique. She's on LinkedIn. She's always posting and sharing her journey. She has been in incredible places in the world. So this woman is key. But Monique, where can people easily connect with you? And if they have any more questions, how can they go about it?
Absolutely. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Like you said, I'm there, but my website is clearcommunicationsolutions.com, clearcommunicationsolutions.com. And you can always send a message to us and we will receive it. We will continue the conversation. You can also search me up on Google. Monique Russell, communication, and you'll find my most prized possession, Intentional Motherhood, Who Said It Would Be Easy, the book that I've written for parents and leaders to walk their children and their teams on journeys.
Love it, love it. I see Ariel also just shared something. He said, reduce misunderstanding. That is the
Yes.
takeaway. That's my next task on my to do list, definitely. And there is that funny meme and story that we usually take in technology. And I'm just going to say that and I will let you go. I promise. I know everyone is on the holidays mood right now. But there is that funny thing about technology where the client will say, I want this kind of product, and the developers or the tech people will hear one way, right? And they create the product super happy about what they did, and then they present it to the client, and the client is like, what is this?
Mhm.
And they said, well, based on point A, B, C, this is what you ask. And the client was like, no, I ask actually this that is so different from what you're giving me. So just to say that in communication, there is nuances. And you always, as you communicate things, have to check just to make sure that people are on the same page, and those misunderstandings that can come from nuances are removed very quickly. So do not feel afraid if you hear something but you're not sure. Always ask. It's better to get it clear and get it right
Mhm.
than to just take it away, create something, and it's not working at all. What do you think, Monique?
100%. You know what I'm gonna say, Flora. You know I'm on board with that. Come on. We can have so much more productive relationships in our families, with our parents, with our siblings. These tools have made me so much better as a wife, as a mother, as a daughter, as a friend, and definitely as a business professional and an owner. So definitely reduce the misunderstanding, focus on clarity, and use the tools to help you have the life that you truly can live with effective communication.
Definitely love it. All right, everyone. Happy holidays. And I will see you next time. Bye bye for now.
Bye for now.